Andre Wade was just released. Once again, come back to talk about some things or back in the day in prison and some of the things I went through and some of the things I seen. Pray that all is well with you all and peace is upon you all. I remember when I was on East Ham and you know a person can't go in these prison thinking they just the baddest person because there's somebody always better than you. It's always somebody that's gonna be better than you in these prisons. And even in these streets there's some people that's better than you. But the thing about it is that, if you wake up with it on your mind, it's somebody else done woke up with it on their mind too. So it's always somebody that's gonna entertain you for whatever you want to be entertained of. But I was speaking of in my last video about, education in prisons. And there's so much that goes on in prison that a person can get up other than being in a gang and doing gang related things. Or even just, doing, some of the things like I did, I, uh, I hindered myself so much time being in prison by being in so much stuff. When they stopped selling cigarettes, I got in the cigarette game, and I was already selling little drugs here and there, and making wine, But I always kept myself in something, some kind of mess, messing with that stuff. So when they stopped selling cigarettes, I was selling uh, cans, I was selling cigarettes, I was selling packs, and I remember it got to the point where I even much was uh, getting over on people. I always wanted to get over on somebody, and that hindered me. It got me into a couple fights. Uh, when I didn't, I could have avoided that. I could have avoided the situation, but I placed myself in it uh, because when you're in the game and you're doing things, you have to represent what you do. So it wasn't no backup in me. It wasn't nobody gonna mess over me, but I was always ready to mess over somebody. Ain't that something? That's crazy. That's crazy. Here it is. I'm ready to play on somebody, but when I get played on, I can't take it. I gotta fight for mine. I gotta get out there for mine. I'm gonna get out there. And but thank God that I didn't have to get out there a lot of times because I had when I was on East Ham, I had a white girl, I had a black chick, and I had a lawman. The lawman was doing more than the bros was, other than me having a little odd sex in here and there with the women. But the male officer, he was a bad man. That boy, he was young and he wanted that money. I remember one day he was smiling and I said, "What you smiling for, man?" He say, Dre, man, he say it's so amazing that when a lot of officers be broken, he be sitting there with a lot of money in his pocket. I used to at one time I used to pay a little. I used to pay bills. I used to loan money to some of the girls, and they would pay me a percentage of my money when they get paid to pay whatever they wanted to do. You know, and it was a good life and it was a bad life. Because like I say, man, there was some times I found myself in a mess, just doing it because if you give your lawman the money, and that's what I used to do. I used to give my little man the money before I get the product sometime because could trust him and he might not come to work. So here it is. I done gave a date of when I'm gonna have the stuff ready, and the people done gave me their money. Now they think I'm trying to mess over them, and here it is. Uh, we not end up fighting. So it's fight squashes. It squashes mine. I ain't gonna pay them nothing. We can fight every day. I ain't finna pay nothing after I hadn't fight, but most of the times I didn't have to go to that because uh, the law would probably come to work the next day after or whatever and bring the stuff, and that I would take care of my business. But them laws, them officers, when they go to seeing that money, man, and they go take them chances. But and it's just so much of taking the chances. I remember a time when I first caught the law, man, and I was working in SIG, and I seen what he was packing. And you know, if you see somebody packing, that don't make no sense, cause you don't supposed to see it. Well, I seen the man packing, and I was already kicking him with the dude for a minute, and they thought he was a police because when he was a trainee, he had bust somebody with some tobacco, and they made him write the bill up. Well, then nobody wanted to mess with him, so I started kicking him with him. Come find out, the guy was really all right, youngster. So I went to him and told him, man, that ain't how you way you come in. Well, he was bringing in for the Mexicans. You know, he was bringing stuff in for the Mexicans, wasn't breaking it down, wasn't, didn't know how. He was just bringing it in. Could have got busted. Well, I ended up winning the boy. I used to get, I used to pay $200 for 24 packs, and man, we blew up. Man, we blew up, and he wanted to have sex with the white girl I was kicking it with, and that was my first ounce of weed I ever got in the penitentiary. And and it was just on from now on. And I kind of blew up, but jealousy took place among some of my own homeboys, and they was jealous of me, and the people rolled down on me. But I had stash houses, and I had dudes that to sit on it for me. Well, one night I sat it on myself where I didn't. I was so tired from coming to work, and I used to smoke cigarettes, and I was in there, and I had my stash in there with me, one of my stashes, and the team and they boys ran in on me. They ran in on me, bust me with it. Downfalls. I had got a major case, ended up going to close custody, and had to work my way up. But my lawman, he was so down, he must took care of me while I was on close custody. So I was having it my way even on close custody. But it's them kind of times that in prison, we put ourselves in chances, putting our freedom. Out here, people putting their freedom on the line of going to prison, and now people putting their freedom on the line in order to get out of prison. And I'd rather, not to go out, and I'd rather come out. But like now, I don't do anything. I don't do nothing. I just can't do it. I just can't put myself out there. I can't afford to give these people no more years of my life in the penitentiary. Maybe you can, I cannot. And my advice is to, if you're able, get a job. Get a job. Work, and be satisfied with what you gain, because credit is a thing out here. So if you got a job, then your credit is good because you can pay it. And with a spouse, you can take care of things. You can take care of family with a job and a spouse. Both of you all, helping one another. And my advice is to let it go, leave it alone, because ain't nothing inside the penitentiary. Ain't nothing but they ain't doing no but time in there. And right now, people letting time do them inside of there. And that's what I did for a long time. Instead of me doing time, I allowed time to do me. So I had to change up. I had to let it go. Just like now, I rather be broke and free than rich and locked up any day. So, and that's just the way I feel. But that wasn't the way I felt years ago. I didn't feel like that. I felt like, I wanted to be rich and never did gain rich and still poor. The only thing I got it was a bunch of time and a number. So, let it all go. Let it go. Let it go. Don't place yourself up in there. Let's just enjoy this time that we have in this life and just stay free and be happy. Because, whatever's meant for us, God is going to allow us to have. This is Just Release with Andre Wade, and I'll be back.